Very good afternoon to all the participants, and we are very happy that our guest speaker, Professor Lavkos Misra, has joined this session. So I would seek the permission from our respected HOD sir to please allow me to introduce our guest speaker.
Please.
So as we all know that Professor Lavkos Misra sir, he is very renowned personality in the country for tourism academics. Professor Misra is an academician with more than 20 years of teaching and research experience in the area of tourism and hospitality management. He is currently working as a professor, dean and director at Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management in the city of Agra, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Khandari campus. After graduating in Bachelor of Science, Professor Misra completed master degree in tourism administration, and he has also qualified UGC NET and accomplished his PhD. Professor Misra did faculty development program from Indian Institute of Management, IIM Indore, and a fellowship from International Academy of Business, Washington, USA. Professor Misra has traveled a lot and visited more than 21 countries in his career. Professor Misra has authored 15 books, written more than 30 scientific research articles, and 20 articles in newspaper magazines on various issues related to tourism industry. He is also chief editor of International Journal on Tourism and Hospitality, published from the university he is serving at present. 15 students have been awarded PhD under his supervision till date. Professor Lavkos Misra has organized and participated more than 80 seminar, conferences, and workshops. Apart from member of the different board of studies and executive council, academic council, and other institutions, the dedication and contribution of Professor Misra have earned him several awards and fellowship. I will mention few of them, like Rashtriya Saraswat Samman 2020, honored by Union Minister of State, Ministry of Steel, Government of India in 2019. Swadeshi Jagran Manch Samman 2019, honored by Governor of West Bengal for social writing in 2014, and many more. Professor Lavkos Misra is also associated with several association and professional bodies. I'll mention some of them, like Indian Economic Association, Operation Research Society of India, State President Higher Education, Rashtriya Sakshak Mahasangh UP, Life Member of Indian Society, Indian Science Congress, ISC Kolkata, and many more. He is also member of several academic bodies, and as I have already told you, different member of in different institutions like Board of Studies, Academic Council, Executive Council, and so on. Professor Misra is associated with a number of reputed national and international tourism and hospitality journal as a member of editorial board of reviewer of repute. Some of them are chief editor of Journal of Tourism and Hospitality, editor of Journal of Tourism Innovations, joint editor of International Academy of Business Review, and there are many more. So I would request our resource person and very eminent speaker from Tourism and Hospitality, Professor Lavkos Misra sir. Sir, please kindly take over the session.
बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you very much, Dr. Hemant Chanchal and other organizing member of the team and delegates, and of course as a organizing body, Mizoram University. Today we will discuss about the culture and regional development, how they are associated, and being professional, what contribution we can do in that context. Culture, as I know, we practice culture, we have culture, but we don't recognize often culture, but we live in culture, live with culture, live for the culture. सुनने में बड़ा आपको थोड़ा सा अटपटा सा लग रहा होगा. जैसा अभी मैंने विश किया, राम राम मैंने कहा, तो मैंने राम राम जानबूझ के बोला. वो राम राम एक विश ही नहीं है, राम राम एक कल्चर भी है. और कैसे कल्चर को वी एज ए प्रोफेशनल, हाउ कैन वी मार्केट इट How can we explore the opportunity for as an academician, for we people and for the students? Because if you are not able to associate all these things with the economy, so it's very tough to survive. You see, uh, many civilizations, they had been vanished out because of their uh, economic, you see, ignorance. I am living in Agra, that is known for the Taj Mahal, and it is also called the city of Taj Mahal. And Taj Mahal is a tourism icon of the country. Just remember, 25 years back, what was happening with the Taj Mahal? People were using vehicles going to Taj Mahal. They were celebrating picnic uh, in the premises of Taj Mahal. And before that, if you go and search some pictures, old pictures of 1816, early 19, you can say, you'll find that Taj Mahal was not very much preserved. It was not presentable as it is today, because there was no earning. It was not associated with earning. When it was, you see, promoted for the tourism, and it was introduced, so the proper system of the crowd management, visitors were allowed with entry by ticket, and ASI started to preserve it. So now that is the one of the reason why it is now preserved and conserved. So the same thing happened with the culture, and how culture contribute with the economy, and how culture contribute in a regional development, we will discuss in another 50 to 60 minutes, and then 20 to 30 minutes we will have open session, so that all of you are my colleague. हम लोग एक ही कुल के हैं, हम सभी टीचर हैं, शिक्षक हैं, और एक शिक्षक परंपरा में, टीचर्स परंपरा में we will exchange our views. Pratima Patel, please unmute yourself. If you are able to hear me, please mute your mic. तो हम लोग आपस में लास्ट 20-30 मिनट्स में उसको डिस्कस करेंगे. We will exchange our views, our experiences, and before that, just I want to draw your attention how the culture, economy is associated, and how regional development can be done effectively and smartly with the help of tourism or with the help of culture. Just as I said, Ram Ram to you people. Just it's a greeting. If you go to Haryana, you'll find वहां पे राम राम एक कल्चर है नमस्ते करने का. राम राम गॉड के तौर पे देखना अलग चीज है, एक ही चीज के कई इंटरप्रिटेशन होते हैं. अगर आप चले जाए वृंदावन, वृंदावन में आप देखेंगे कि लोग राधे राधे कहते हैं. अगर राधे राधे केवल एक शब्द है राधे राधे, but it denotes several feelings. You'll find sometimes जैसे रिक्शा वाला है, रिक्शा वाला घंटी नहीं बजाएगा, अगर उसे भीड़ को करना होगा तो बोलता है राधे राधे. राधे राधे मैंने उसको रास्ता दे दो. पैदल आप वृंदावन की गलियों में जाइए, वहां किसी का पैर अगर आपसे दब गया, धक्का लग गया, जैसे हम लोग सॉरी बोलते हैं, तो सॉरी नहीं बोलेंगे, वो अरे ओ राधे राधे. और नमस्ते करते हैं तब भी राधे राधे बोलते हैं. शब्द वही है, उसके जो कहने का तरीका है, बॉडी लैंग्वेज है, दैट हैज डिफरेंट मीनिंग विद द डिफरेंट बॉडी लैंग्वेज. आप ये सोच सकते हैं कि why I am saying all these things, how all these things are related with each other. But my dear friends, it has its some sense. If I am saying these things that has some sense, because you know, if you are going to promote tourism, if you go in depth, you'll find tourism get pleasure only when he experience the tourism, he experience the destination. If he is not experiencing the destination, he won't enjoy. He would be only the visitor for time. For example, and that has deep impact on the local economy. For example, I can quote Jaipur and Agra. Agra is an international destination. It has 3 world monuments, including Taj Mahal, Agra Fort, and Fatehpur Sikri. Of course, there are another 2 monuments. These are under consideration of UNESCO and may be declared sometimes as a World Heritage sites. But even despite of all these things, only the Taj Mahal is able to face the number of tourists in considerable amount, not others. If you go statistics, you'll find that only 50% tourists visiting Taj Mahal is going to Agra Fort, while these both of the monuments are located only half an hour, half an kilometer, hardly from each other. But only if Taj Mahal is receiving, suppose 50,000 or 30,000 tourists, then Agra Fort only 15 to 25,000. Why? Just half. And if you go to Fatehpur Sikri, you'll find the number goes another decline. It's hardly 20%, 25% of the people visiting Taj Mahal. How this happened? Because we don't have culture. If you go statistics, you'll find that the number of tourists having, if you go and calculate the length of night stay at Jaipur, you'll find people are not staying at Agra because of many reasons. But one of the prominent reason is lack of culture. Why? Because people don't experience the destination. People here in Agra, they are visiting Taj Mahal, and just visiting means visitor. They are not tourists. They have become visitors. They are coming in the morning and going back by evening. So they are contributing very, very less in the economy of Agra. They may be contributing in the economy of Delhi, maybe contributing in the economy of Jaipur, but not to Agra. And certainly, sometimes, like a coin has 2 faces. So the same things, sometimes development has also another, you see, face. Like we have a expressway connecting Delhi to Agra that has reduced journey from Delhi to Agra from 4 to 5 hours journey to only 2 hours. That has reduced journey time and of course increased luxury travel. But another side, what happened? The people started to visit Agra in the morning and going by evening. Most of the tourists, foreign tourists, they have international flights. They get down, they at Delhi, and they got hotel at there, and they made their stay at Delhi, and they came to Agra by coach, by Shatabdi train or Gatiman. These are the 2 especially tourist trains, and they visited Agra, saw the Taj Mahal, and they went back. So they had only you can say lunch at Agra or some snacks in Agra. So they are not making their stay because there is no cultural attraction at all in Agra. Because Agra doesn't have like Jaipur. Jaipur has a vibrant culture. You'll find the people are wearing turban and costumes, local costumes. If you go in the city around, you'll find that people are having, they are practicing their own culture. Namaste se lekar ke उनका जो ड्रेस सेंस है, इवन जो फूड स्टाइल है, everything they practice their own. They have preserved it, but not we in Agra. That's why we are losing economy. Though they have a number of tourists visiting at a time in a single day, it may be highest in the country because of the Taj Mahal. But the same time, we can't say that we are earning a lot of money out of these monuments. So ये तो एक उदाहरण रहा। अभी आप देखिए, 2-3 एक्सपीरियंस मैं शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि कल्चर का क्या इम्पैक्ट होता है रीजनल डेवलपमेंट, और दोनों कैसे एक दूसरे के कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री हैं, एक दूसरे को कैसे सपोर्ट करते हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, कल्चर इज रिलेटेड विद द टूरिज्म। टूरिज्म के तमाम अट्रैक्शंस में कल्चर एक प्रोमिनेंट पार्ट है, अट्रैक्शन है, रिसोर्स है टूरिज्म के लिए। टूरिज्म के माध्यम से वी कैन प्रिजर्व आवर कल्चर, वी कैन कंजर्व आवर कल्चर, वी कैन प्रोपोगेट द कल्चर। और इसको मैं डिटेल में जाता हूं। सपोज कहीं नंबर ऑफ टूरिस्ट बहुत ज्यादा आते हैं, जैसे जयपुर ही ले लो, तो जयपुर में आपने देखा होगा कठपुतली का पॉपेट शो होता है। क्यों होता है? जो लोकल आर्टिस्ट हैं उनको नंबर ऑफ टूरिस्ट ज्यादा आ रहे हैं, टूरिस्ट आ रहे हैं तो राजस्थानी कल्चर को वो बेच रहे हैं, उनको अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए राजस्थानी कल्चर का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं। तो इस तरीके से अगर आप ये देखिए, उस कल्चर के माध्यम से टूरिज्म बढ़ रहा है, लेकिन सेम टाइम टूरिज्म कल्चर के दोनों एक दूसरे के पूरक है। टूरिज्म कल्चर को बढ़ा रहा है और कल्चर टूरिज्म को बढ़ा रहा है। इफ यू गो एंड कंपेयर द important international destination like Dubai and Agra, you'll find Dubai doesn't have any culture. They may be having their costumes, especially Islamic and Arabian, but they don't have their forts, they don't have monuments like we are having in the country, because उनका कोई ऐसा पिछला ग्लोरियस पास्ट नहीं रहा है। हमारे यहाँ कल्चर तो हर किलोमीटर पे बदलता है। एक कहावत है कॉमन सी कि कोस कोस पे पानी बदले 3 कोस पे बानी, माने हमारे यहाँ एवरीथिंग वी गेट चेंज आफ्टर 3 to 4 kilometers, and geographical or size of the country, you'll find it has deep impact on the religious faith, culture, our food style, our you see dress sense, everything. Starting from northern part of the country, आप देखिए northern most part में क्या है? Lofty mountains covered with snow all the times, whole of the years. So that has different kind of there is no vegetation at all. If you go to middle Himalaya, you'll find some vegetation. Even their shapes are different. The houses you'll find different. The people are different. Their color is different. उनका जो शारीरिक बनावट है, फिजिकल स्ट्रक्चर, you'll find different. इसीलिए बहुत समय तक अरुणाचल वगैरह के जो लोग हैं उनको चाइनीज से लोग कंपेयर करने लगते थे, नॉर्थ ईस्ट पीपल को। और जैसे जैसे आप लोअर हिमालय में जाएं, फिर प्लेन में जाएं, आप जैसे जैसे सदर्न पार्ट में जाएंगे, you'll find एकदम समुद्र शुरू होता है। माने शुरू हुआ आपके बर्फ से, बर्फ की चोटियों से, और अनादर एंड कहाँ हो रहा है? समुद्र से। कितना कॉन्ट्रास्ट है। और मैनेजमेंट की भाषा में कहें तो कितनी डाइवर्सिटी है। और ये जो डाइवर्सिटी है, इसी डाइवर्सिटी ने टूरिज्म के लिए रिसोर्स अवेलेबल कराया है। डोमेस्टिक टूरिज्म के लिए दिस इज वेरी गुड साइन, एंड एज अ कंट्री वी आर वेरी रिच in the cultural aspects. we are having every kind of the tourism products in our country, whether starting from the hills, mountains to ocean. If you go another side, you'll find in northeastern side of the country, मिजोरम अपने आप में एक बहुत खूबसूरत प्रदेश है. नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न साइड को करें तो आप देखेंगे कि यू विल फाइंड dense forest when even the sun rays are not able to penetrate, while in the western side you'll find vast desert, जहां डेजर्ट ही डेजर्ट है, बालू है, पूरा रेगिस्तान है. तो कितनी डाइवर्सिटी, एक तरफ घने जंगल और दूसरी तरफ पूरा रेगिस्तान. तो दैट्स व्हाई आवर कंट्री, आप देखिए ज्योग्राफिकली जो ये डाइवर्सिटी है, इसने पूरे कल्चर को डाइवर्सिफाइड कर दिया. पूरे देश में हर भाग में हमारा एक अपना अलग कल्चर है, और वो कल्चर दूसरे के लिए टूरिज्म प्रोडक्ट है. और अगर टूरिज्म प्रोडक्ट है तो पीपल विल बी मूविंग फ्रॉम देयर रेजिडेंशियल प्लेस टू अनदर प्लेस, एंड इन दिस वे they will be contributing in the economy. If you take the example, आप देखिए अभी नवंबर का महीना चल रहा है, आगे दिसंबर में उत्तर भारत में बहुत सर्दी हो जाएगी, इवन आगरा में भी. लेकिन जो हमारा कोस्टल एरिया है लाइक मुंबई, गोवा, वहां पे मॉडरेट टेम्परेचर होगा. उसका रिजल्ट क्या होगा कि ढेर सारे जो नॉर्दर्न पार्ट के टूरिस्ट है, डोमेस्टिक टूरिस्ट, दे विल मेक देयर जर्नी फ्रॉम देयर रेजिडेंस टू दिस पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री, contributing again in the economy. They may be traveling for leisure and pleasure, but as a practitioners, as of that tourism business, or as a academician, we can say it is a contribution in economy. दूसरी तरफ आप देखिए टूरिज्म का जो फिलॉसफी है वो क्या है कि लोग ज्यादा से ज्यादा ट्रेवल करें, ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोकल इकोनॉमी में कंट्रीब्यूट करें, वहां के लोकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का इस्तेमाल करें, चाहे वो होटल हो, चाहे वो शॉप्स हो, चाहे फोटोग्राफर्स हो, हॉकर्स हो, रेस्टोरेंट हो, एनीथिंग, वेंडर्स हो, इन सारी चीजों को तो उपयोग टूरिस्ट जाएगा तो करेगा ही करेगा. तो ये सारे चीजें, जितना ही टूरिज्म बढ़ेगा उतना ही ज्यादा लोकल इकोनॉमी में कंट्रीब्यूशन होगा. ये तो एक फैक्ट रहा, हम एज ए टूरिज्म इकोनॉमी सभी लोग जानते हैं. लेकिन प्रॉब्लम कहाँ आती है कि बहुत से लोग, हम लोग जानते हैं चीजों मित्रों, लेकिन हम प्रैक्टिस में नहीं लाते. जैसे हम सभी लोग जानते हैं कि बनाना का न्यूट्रिशियस वैल्यू अच्छी है, बनाना खाना चाहिए, बच्चों को खिलाना चाहिए, लेकिन हम उनको खुश करने के लिए क्या खिलाते हैं? अगर
सर
लोअर
Hello? Sir, I am very sorry to interrupt you in between. Hello, sir, my voice is audible to you?
Yes.
Sir, I am very sorry. Actually, the most of the participants, they are from the different regions of the country. So it's a request from like most of the participants, like please convey your address in English. We are very sorry for
sure,
that.
Sure.
But,
No. Sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sure. Thank you. English is a means of communication, so definitely the language should be communicative. So that's good. I'm not saying that we should go for any language, but you see how the culture has its own impact. Like as I said, that many of the times we know what is the good and what is the bad, but we don't take it in our daily day-to-day practice. For example, I have given the example of banana. We all know that it has a high nutritious value. It has calcium and other minerals. But we prefer to bring chocolates and other things and sometimes cold drink and chips to our children. Though we all know, even the laymen also know but he doesn't have in practice. The same way, we know that by cultural promotion, we can promote the tourism, which can ultimately contribute in regional development, where tourism has been promoted in large scale. So definitely the region has uh, experienced its development. For example, recently, as I said, you can take the example of Ayodhya. Nowadays, it's in news. And another example, you can take the Prayag, which was known as Allahabad. And before Allahabad, it was known as Prayagraj. So in Vedic text, it was mentioned Prayag. Then during Akbar, it got its name Allahabad. And now again, this government has changed its name to Prayagraj. So as a academician, we may think of it, politicians raised many ways against this change in name, that we have Allahabad popular in our books and other things, and the generation is familiar with the new name Allahabad. So it's not good, it's not wise to change the name of Allahabad to Prayagraj. But government changed it. The people who raised this voice, they were politically motivated. They were looking their interest in politics, not as a academician, not as practitioners, not as a economists, but as an economist, as an academician. We can go in detail and you'll find that was the right move by the government. How? If you remember, there were the two cases, and that caught in that caught international attraction in their newspapers and electronic media. People were giving logic that after changing the name, it will lose its identity. But before Allahabad, it was Prayagraj. So it was factually incorrect to say that the name was changed. Name was correct. The true thing is that there was the correction in the name. The original name was Prayagraj, which was distorted, which was changed by Akbar to and given the name Allahabad, and again the same name Prayagraj was given by the modern government, today government. And if you go and analyze its economic impact, you'll find the major earning of the city of Allahabad is because of Kumbh. In every year, there is a mass gathering for 1 month. In month of January, December, January, it starts and ends around February, 15 February around. So it's mass gathering. People use to make their temporary residence there, tent city. It is called Kumbh. Magh Mela. In local language, it's called Magh Mela. So that's a temporary city for 1 month. And the local men, they get employment, and all the segment of the society, whether they are semi-skilled, skilled, or unskilled, everybody get job out of this fair. That happens for complete 1 month. Then what happens? After a long time, if you have changed the name from Prayagraj to Allahabad, so the new generation and another new generation, the people and the destination will lose its importance. because Kumbh is associated not with the Allahabad. Kumbh is associated with Prayagraj. Those who are having the faith in Veda and the Vedic rituals, and they are seeking salvation, moksha. They are coming to that place in the on the bank of confluence of three rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. That is mentioned in Veda, and the place is called Prayaga, which is Sanskrit word. Pra means pratham, first, yagya, जहां प्रथम Lord Brahma ne, Bhagwan Brahma has performed their first yagya. That is called, that place is known as Prayag. That has some specific meaning that is not included in Allahabad. Though this is the one of the reason, as a academician, we can enlighten our society. We can tell to society, this is the impact of nomenclature. If we change the name, so definitely you'll find its impact on the economy in long term. Forget about the politics, forget about the political ideas. It is not a matter of ideology. It's not a matter of religion. It's a purely matter of economics. Another example, I'm saying, some critics from the country and out of the country started to propaganda, motivated by politics, that it is a simply wastage of money, public money, because state government has allotted 4,000 crore rupees for the Kumbh Fair to organize the Mahakumbh 2019. So people started that it is a wastage of public money, and it is means the government is wasting its money. But and you see, it was in news, and the televisions, they started to organize a show and started to criticize government, that there is a poverty on one hand, we are suffering with many other social problems on one hand, and another hand government is spending such a huge amount just to organize a fair, local fair. But they may have different ideology, but that expenses had its own meaning and own benefits for the country, and they became silent only when CII, that means Confederation of Indian Industries, they published a report that there was the revenue generation of 1,20,000 crore out of this Mahakumbh 19. That means if you compare the business, you'll find how productive is this business. The government is spending 4,000 crore only. Just remember, figure 4,000 crore rupees only, and generating economy of 1,20,000. My friend, you won't find any business such productive and such a fruitful, where there is a revenue generation as well as job creation. Job creation not only to elite class, but right from unskilled people to semi-skilled people to skilled people, all segment of the society, they were getting the job. Another hand, what was the happening? It's not, these were the economic impact, economic benefits for the society. But another hand, it has its socio-cultural impact also. If you remember, there were the more than 70 countries' flags first time first ever in our Kumbh, that was in uh, Prayagraj at that time. It means we have cultural relationship with those countries numbering more than 70. Means those 70 countries participating and they are recognizing our culture, or you can say we are sharing our culture with 70 countries of the world. And definitely, if we are building relationship with these countries, that means we will share our interest in the future also. Sometimes whenever we have any issue on international level, we will get support from these 70 countries. So this is the another, you can say, intangible benefits for the country. All these things cannot be said to everyone, but as a academician, we can elaborate it, we can recognize it, and we can make people. It's our duty to educate other people who are making noise unnecessarily on different issues which are of national importance. We have to focus on that. Another example, recently Ayodhya is in news. There is a lot of infrastructural development in Ayodhya. There is another, you see, universities coming to Ayodhya. The airport that has been modified, or you can say that is upgraded to international airport. So all these, and the roads are being widened and beautiful, and that means connectivity all over. It is being connected by with the different part of the country. So definitely, it's not only the infrastructural development that will be used by tourists. It will be supporting and it will be beneficial for different other industries like production or manufacturing or anything else. And overall, if you'll find that that would be contributing in the economy of the country in long way. For example, if you analyze the one thing what we have to discuss, and we have to uh, you see, if you go into detail, you'll find the world has 5-6 types of the economy. First, mineral based economy, that South African and other countries, they are having mineral based economy. Another is petroleum based economy that Arabian countries have. And there is a mixed kind of economy where production and agriculture both are the mix, like India we have. Another is only manufacturing and techno based economy, like China, they have the manufacturing, only manufacturing they are having. South Korea, Taiwan and other countries, they are having what productive manufacturing as well as techno based economy. Japan has technological based economy, and European and American, they have knowledge based economy. Most of the countries, they are having the patents and other things, you'll find. But what is the plus point for our country, for India? As I discussed in beginning of my speech, this discussion, that we have diversified culture. India is called a land of every region and every season. Means we have to offer to the tourist, maybe domestic as well as international, in every season and for every kind of the people. Those who are adventure loving, we have adventurous tourism. Those who are the religious, we have lot of temples and religious places in our country. And those who are SIT means special interest tourists. We have attractions for those. Those who are, if you name anything, we have attraction for those. Every kind of the tourism resources we have in our country, whether it is wildlife, or desert, or water-based activities, or land-based activities, or you'll see the mountain-based activities. So we have to offer everything to everybody. But what we have to emphasize, we have to recognize, we have to explore our culture, and we have to develop, we have to package and market those culture which is demanded by the tourists. I'm putting one example and I'll compare that example with our country so that you can see what is happening and how we can develop this tourism culture for regional development. I happen to be there in China for some time, and there is one place, Kunming, that is the capital of Yunnan province. At that area, like we have Uttar Pradesh and its capital is Lucknow. The same way, Yunnan province is in China, and it's having its capital in Kunming. We had been brought to another important place, Stone Forest, nearby that area, and there was nothing. There was just stone, and they have some folk dance there, and panchayat, local government was there, and we had been able to see all these things, and that was the attraction to that country. But what the good thing I saw there, I experienced, the interpreters and the battery operated vehicle driver, they were having their local costumes. Means we had been there up to their parking, another traveling by their battery operated vehicle, like in our Agra, in Taj Mahal. But we have given them in Agra just like pant shirt. They are wearing, means operated vehicles, they used to wear simple clothes, ordinary clothes, like other people. But in China, I saw the lady driver were mostly ladies, and they all were wearing their local costumes. So I was very much fascinated. Not only me, the another tourists from other part of the world, they all were attracted by those. So this is the small thing that contributes in economy, that contribute in culture. So if we exhibit our culture, if we package our culture, even the tribal culture, if we are not able to tap all the tribal resources, even till today, and I'm giving how regional developments is contributed by all these things, I must quote another model project that has been adopted and appreciated by Government of India, that is the Orcha, that's the place in UP, nearby Jhansi. So that was developed by a group, business group, especially Tourettes, that's not on that's company, basically Oswal company is there. They promoted that destination, they identified the region, and they developed it, and now today it is the popular destination for the tourists, and especially international tourists. And the same way, if there are many tribal regions like Jharkhand and Orissa and Chhattisgarh, and in UP we have Tharu tribals. So even we are not able to tap 20-30% of the tourism resources. If we explore and if you tap all these things, we can develop infrastructure for the tourism to promote those cultures. We can market it, and we can go ahead of our country. We can market it within the country and out of the country. We can fetch a number of tourists from other part of the world, and same times, because we are the diversified country, and that's why we have the buyers in a very layman language. If we talk about it, we have the buyers, we have the products, and we have the sellers, everything within the country. For example, those who are the tourism business in Goa or coastal area, they can have buyers from other part of the country, whether it is plain or mountain. They can attract tourists, means clients from other part of the country, like this. And the same way, those who are having business in mountain area, they are having some tourism related business in mountain area. They can explore their possibilities of the business in other part of the country, like they can fetch a number of tourists from plains, from desert area, from from the coastal area. The same way, like Mizoram, that's a very beautiful place, beautiful estate, you can say. They can attract the tourists from the other part of the country, especially from the plain and the coastal area. Means we as a country, if you analyze, we have all these things essential for the tourism business, like customer is there, product is there, and supplier is there, means resources are there, everything is we are having. And especially in the time of pandemic, like we are facing today, and recently COVID-19 has hampered all the business throughout the world, not only in our country, very badly, especially the hospitality industry. But if we are able to promote our cultural tourism, domestic tourism, because during pandemic, most of the countries, they have banned to international tourists. They have suspended their international flights. But as a domestic tourist, we had been able to attract some tourists in some part of the country where there was limited lockdown. So even in that crisis time, if we promote domestic tourism based on the cultural tourism, we can fetch number of tourists, and we can contribute in regional development. There is another many ways for to develop this regional area. For example, if and government is doing that, government is realizing how much is too much, and the government is, that's why government is promoting cultural tourism in different part of the country. I am quoting one example. Petroleum, we have raw materials from the Bombay High, that's in Maharashtra, and we get raw material from Bombay High to different part of the country. For example, we have one refinery at Mathura, another in Panipat in Haryana. In UP, we have in Mathura. But you see, if you go further, and you'll find that it is costly affair to transport raw materials from one part of the country to another part of the country, and processing, and then selling the finished product. It's costly affair, but it was necessary for the regional development, because if every industry, everything will be concentrated, centralized to a certain part of the country, so there would be another problem, like because of local environment and ecology, there would be disturbances in that. That's why government and found it best way to carry out all these things, raw material to another part of the country, and processing in those areas, and distributing from that area. And at the same time, it will provide job to another area, like people of Mathura and Panipat working refinery, they will get the job. But in case of tourism, you'll find every part of the country have different culture. That is itself a product. If we emphasize on the particular culture, everywhere we have resources. We need not to transport those raw materials to another part of the country. But if we market the things, if we package the culture, we can have customers from another part of the country and even from the abroad to that particular area. And we will be able to sell all those products in form of culture to that particular area. Even in that way, in tourism, we say that even hawker, small hawkers, vendors, we provide opportunity to export their product sitting at their own area. They need not to go to another part of the world, but the people from different part of the world, they are coming to, they are visiting to that area, that monument, and they are purchasing the local products. That is giving job opportunity to souvenir industry. So these are the few reasons why the culture should be promoted. And if we promote the culture, definitely we will boost the economy, and we will be able to provide the job opportunity to local people, to that particular regional area. And the same time, there would be the infrastructural development that will be used not only by the hospitality industry, but by others also, like whether maybe manufacturing industry or other production area. The same time, there would be another benefits, like there would be more and more economic flow that will contribute in the GDP of the country also. So we can say that there is a lot of scope for the cultural tourism, and that may ultimately contribute a lot in the regional development. So with these words, I would like to invite the questions from other friends and delegates who are joining in this FDP.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really a nice session. And as you said, that culture promotes tourism and tourism promotes culture. So we all are agreed with this. And I think that no one should forget the roots and ethics and culture. It always remain with us. So we have few questions. We have one question from Siddheswar Kumar Rai. He asked me 3 questions, so I'm taking one question. That being a country rich of the diverse culture, tradition, attractions, destinations, what is the roadmap or approach should it implement to reach height or to say one of the most favored destinations globally?
Sorry, what should be path?
Sir, being a country rich of the diverse culture, traditions, he's talking about like India as a rich in diverse culture, tradition, attractions, destination. Then what should be a roadmap or approach to implement to reach height or to say that we can make it a global destination?
Sure. I got his point.
Right, sir.
Mr. Rai, he's Mr. Rai?
He is a student from Department of Tourism from Mizoram University, Siddheswar Kumar Rai.
Okay. Mr. Rai, first of all, what we have to do, we have to be confident about our product, our culture. And culture is not a finished any single product. You can't say that this is the culture. Culture is composition of several things, right from thinking, right from eating habit, right from costumes, or religious faith. Everything is a part of our culture. You can't say culture is some specific thing. Even how we behave, how we talk, how to, what's our eating habit, what's our religious practice, what's tolerance, everything is in our culture. So what happened in past years, after a long time under the British rule, and before that under the Mughals rule, we forget and we become, you see, we deprive of our culture. We are not able to think uh, glory of our culture, merit of our culture. And if we, as a academician and as a businessman, if we are not confident of our product, how can we sell it? I'm talking in terms of marketing. If I am not sure that this bottle is good, and I'm not saying, if I myself is not confident that is the good for health, and the water is, this water is good for health, how can we market it for others? For example, I am quoting. I am man of, you see, student of tourism. I have some social experiments. I did it myself. Once I invited 5 experts from different part of the world, from California to China and other part of the world. They were in Jaipur in a conference. I requested them to visit our place, and they came to Agra to deliver a lecture in our institute. And I promised them that I'll show you the Taj Mahal. So the main attraction was Taj Mahal, and they stayed here for 3-4 days and they delivered lecture. So the best part, I tried to make an experiment, and I did it. Once I made the arrangement in a 5-star hotel here in Agra, that's Clark Shiraz. Once first day they delivered the lecture. Second day, I discussed with my colleague that today we will have tahari lunch with our guest. So my fellow friends, colleague, they started to convince me, Professor Mishra, don't do this. It would be insult of our institute and the country. You will offer tahari to them. They are our guests. If university is not paying, we will contribute. But please don't do this. Let me have lunch from any 5-star hotel and our good restaurant. I requested them. I convinced them. You people just believe on me and just have lunch with me. That would be tahari. That's the rice and vegetables putting together and cooking. So I convinced my colleague, and in lunch we had arrangement of this tahari, papad, curd, salad, and some pickles. And before having lunch, I explained to my guest that this is a special kind of food full of nutrition. It has minerals, vitamins, calciums, other things. It is very, very nutritious diet. And sometimes our Prime Minister used to take this food. It's long back. At that time, Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. So those foreign guests, they had lunch with me, and they all were very happy. By their face, I could read their face, and they were happy. After 4-5 days, when I went to that hotel for settlement of their estate, etc., so the general manager asked me one question. Oh, Professor Misra, what you made available them in a lunch? They were asking some Prime Minister food, they were asking, and they were looking in hotels menu, Prime Minister food. They were asking again and again Prime Minister food. We couldn't understand what is the Prime Minister food. Then that made me happy that my experiment was, that social experiment was successful, because I didn't tell Allah anything, because that tahri means the dish rich with minerals, that has carrot, cabbage, cauliflowers, peas, and other things, potatoes, means other mixed vegetables, and rice, putting all together. So if you see, uh, uh, it has nutritious value, and the Prime Minister was Mr. Manmohan Singh. So he was having, of course, Punjabi likes this tahri. So I didn't tell anything, but what I tell, that was confidently. I told them about the true figures, true facts, but confidently. I convinced them, and I was success. That was success I experienced when they were looking that dish in five-star hotel. But the same time, our colleague, those who are from our background, they were feeling inferiority, that it's not good to offer tahri to foreign tourists, foreign friends. So that was the inferiority that is deepened, that they have, we have. That's why, another example, I don't know the practice of Mizoram, but in northern part of the country, we see in June, month of the June, when we get married, often in function, people starts dancing at 48-degree temperature, wearing coat and pant and tie. Am I right, Mr. Hemant? Chanchal?
Yes, sir, you're
Am I
right, sir.
right?
Right, right, sir. Right, sir.
So people feel uncomfortable. That is not our dress says. The temperature is 48-degree, but we have uh, deeply, we have that belief, the British people, they were wearing that time. That's why if we wear that coat pant at 48-degree, and that would be superiority. And another example, you see, even in today, you'll find in different hotels, those who are from at a entrance, you'll find that is a Maharaja style people, long heighted, wearing Rajasthani dress, while the managers etc., they will be putting on coat, trousers and tie. That means we have inferiority, that as Indian we have to be watchmen, we have to be keeper. But those who are the managers and officers, they have to put on coat. So it is not Britishers, it is not foreigners. Now we people are practicing it. That reflects our inferiority complex. And if we are suffering with inferiority complex, how can we go for aggressive marketing? How can we package our products? Whether maybe it's culture, it may be our local practice. So that is the main thing which we have to come out of these inferiority complex, Mr. Rai. If we feel proud of our culture, only then we will have another path to make it global, and will be able to sell across the globe. That's recently the trend is being changed. Those who are from the Bihar and eastern part of the country, there is a one dish, litti chokha. That's a local dish. Now it was earlier it was considered as a dish of the poor people, but one company in Mumbai, they started to export it. So definitely that is a good sign And if we proud of all these things, proud of our proud local products, our culture, so definitely we will be able to make it available on global level, and we will be able to bring it on global level. Thank you, Mr. Rai. If you have another question, please ask.
Yes, sir, please. Thanks for this answer, sir. We have another questions from Mahua Roy. She's asking how intangible culture can be sustainable in the long run. I'm repeating, it's how intangible culture can be sustainable in the long run.
Okay. Miss Rai, Miss Mahua, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. You see, often we discuss about the culture. There are so many monuments. I have given example. If Taj Mahal was not able to associate with the tourism, it means it was not converted from a monument to tourism product. So there may be another situation that it would have been disappeared because it would have been taken away, its brick, its mobile, etc., by the local people. If our culture is intangible, but it gives our pleasure, it gives an experience to the visitors. So what we have to do, we have to maintain our local culture. For example, there are many studies on international level. I can quote one example from Macau. In Macau, most of the Japanese, they were coming on weekend visiting that place, Macau. So the local people, local businessmen, they started to offer Japanese dish, Japanese cuisines. They started to sell Japanese products on the street. And ultimately, what they did, they started to write their name in Japanese language and offering the Japanese foods and other things. So after some time, they experienced a serious downfall in tourist arrivals. So the local government, like we have Nagar Nigam, etc. So the local government started to explore the things. They have set up a committee to find out what is the reasons to this downfall in tourist footfall. Then what was the findings? That's very interesting. The Japanese who were coming to that place to experience some change, but they didn't find it because everything in that place, Macau is a place that influenced by China. So everything is means cuisine and souvenirs, everything was if Japanese. So why the Japanese will come to that place to just have another Japanese dish cuisines there? Because they have original things, original cuisine at that place. So people travel to another place for the leisure and pleasure. That definitely the important feature is that that has different culture, that have some different experience. If the people is having same culture, same language, same cuisines, definitely they won't be fascinated by visiting place. So to experience the destination, it is necessary to be changed. Like if you go to Mathura Vrindavan, you'll find different because the people are wearing different local costumes. They are offering local dishes. So that will fascinate the people. So what we have to do, we have to maintain our culture and we have to associate it with the economy. More important thing, if the thing is associated with the economy, only then that can be preserved because it will be of use. So the people will preserve it and conserve it. So all the culture components should be associated with the economy to make it sustainable. Ms. Mahua, I think you would be satisfied. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. I'm here.
Thank you so much, sir. We have some more questions. Since we are like, time restrictions are there, we have to start another session after 1 hour. So I'm taking some more questions. First, I'll read the feedback from one person, Deepak Joyal. He is saying a great learning indeed. And I do believe that sir is right in saying that we feel inferior to show our culture. Maybe to please the guest. The two most successful tourism states, Rajasthan and Kerala, have promoted their culture to promote tourism, and that should be taken as an example to promote culture in various destinations. Thank you, sir. So thank you to Deepak Joyal also. Now we have the question from Divya. She's asking, our country is known for its culture and heritage, but for the sake of globalization, we have lost most of our identity and our culture, which is really bad, as we have dissolved our own true sense following a fake one. My argument is that, is it the government to play the major role in crossing a line of where to stop the uses of other culture?
This question is asked by
Divya.
Divya. Okay, Miss
Yeah.
Divya. I want to bring you back around 2003 and 4. I don't know what was your age, what's your age, and at that time whether you were able to understand the social things or not. But we people were experiencing at that time country. If you go back further, in 1990s, government opened the door for foreigners. Foreigners not only in terms of a man, but global. We entered as a country for the globalization, privatization, and you see on mass scale. But what happened on privatization? What happened at that time? It was discussion all around the country. And in 2003-4, further, we opened the door for the another private media, private players in television, etc. So some people started to say that it will vanish our culture, because if the television will reach to our bedroom, that will spoil the thinking of our children. And that would be influenced by foreign culture. Fashion TV, etc. were there at that time, but they started to give their arguments that it will influence our children, our ladies, and our gents, especially the teenagers. Of course, we agree, but my dear, we can't keep ourselves in isolation. If the changes are going on, especially the technological changes, one cannot keep him or herself stand still. We have to make our pace with the global phenomena. We have to be positive, and we have to make our planning accordingly. What the developments going on global level. If they are planning to show our people, to show our children, suppose pornography, so we can plan them to show them our Vedic things, our rich culture, our cultural things, our religious things. We have a number of religious texts, number of heroes right from Vedic period, from Ramayana, Mahabharata. There are so number of rishis, munis. We have, you can say, we are the richest in the world. So why we worry about those guys? We can do. If they are spoiling, then no problem. With the help of same technology, we will be able to save our children, our population, At the same time, we can be aggressive and we can have our culture abroad also. So they have to worry that they will be influenced by we people, and we will spread our culture to another part of the world. This is the one example you see, and it is happening. So it's not government only. Government can't change. The government can't say that there won't be technological changes, etc. We have to go for that, but we have to make it sure that in which direction and what should be extent of the technological these changes. And I'm quoting one example. You might not be very much aware, but it happens. Recently, Saudi Arabia, they allowed their people for the picture halls. They started to allow their women for driving. Do you know why? It is not the religious reason, my dear. Muhammad Sahib didn't came to their dream that, okay, now the time is over and you start. You can, earlier it was prohibited to women, that women were not allowed for driving. The people were not allowed to see the movies. Now Muhammad came into dream and said that, okay, by religious reason, now you can go for that driving and you can go for entertainment. It's not the case. It is only the technological changes that influence that ideology, that compelled them to open this driving to their women and pictures and other entertainments to their citizens. Why? Because if you remember, 3-4 things happened recently, even also a meeting on global level with the president of different countries, and another thing, what the different countries are working upon: one solar, one grid, and one world. That means the dependency of the countries, different countries, that was on the petroleum earlier, even today, to some extent, it is going to be shifted from petroleum to solar energy. Even the defense forces, they will have vehicles operated by solar energy, electrical energy. So there won't be demand for the petroleum. So the economy of the Saudi Arabia will be badly hampered, and the ruler of that country, they understand the situation, what they are going to face near in future. That's why they are preparing their people to face that problem. If they want to make them out of that closed box and in which they have kept their citizen for a long time, now they will be started to thinking on global level, so that they can go to another part of the world for their livelihood. That's why they have allowed. So we have to move with the technology. We have to be aggressive, and we have to recognize our culture, importance of the culture. This is the only thing, and the government can't do anything, because you see in the Misr and Egypt, etc., we have seen their revolution, and the people's, even in this era, in the pandemic, don't go further far away. In pandemic, the citizens of different countries, especially in America, etc., in European countries, they were started to oppose lockdown, which was made in the interest of the citizen, in the interest of the public. They were against the government. So government can't restrict use of the technology. We have to use technology, but our direction should be in proper, and we will go ahead with the technology. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. If you have, we can take one more question. If anyone has any question, they can ask right now, or we shall end the session.
Sir, one sec, sir. Sir, very nicely said, sir. Actually, the government can't take up the technology wise. They can't say that no, to these things. But government can tell that you can go ahead with your culture, the tribes can follow their own language, and write in books, likewise it can be developed. No sir, like in Europe, the buildings are not supposed to be changed in terms of facade, and the culture will be followed right from their generation to the future generations as well. Like the Saudi Arabia, the people are not allowed to wear they have to wear that parda, the women are not allowed. So that likewise the generation is following their own customs, it is not being westernized. Whereas why there is no line, a crossing of line in our government, likewise saying that you can follow your own traditions, and if you want to talk in your own language you can go ahead. Likewise there is no kind of what to say, encouragement from the government. That is what I'm trying to say, sir. If that is so, then we will not definitely feel inferior to use our language or use our medicines. Like Ayurveda is very known for our India, but right now what we use is allopathy, which is not going to be a solution for our health. But Ayurveda gives an good solution. Why don't we follow that? It's because there is a cut in the generation. We government did not support the people who were following that. That's what my argument, sir. Sorry if I'm not
No, no,
is
Divya,
it
I agree with you. Divya, I agree
audible, sir?
with you.
Yes sir.
Divya,
Yes sir. Yes sir.
could you listen me?
Yes sir. Yes sir. Yes sir. Please,
Yeah,
sir.
I agree with you. You see that what you have said, that's true. But same times we have some limitations. First of all, we are the democratic country, and you see the people stand and abuse the prime minister in our country. Sometimes people they behave like children, you can say, means by thinking like, if you see small children, what they do, sometimes they start to, they they want to catch the candle, they don't know that will burn them. The same thing happen. Our generation, they are lured by aggressive marketing and very lucrative advertisement and other things. Earlier, this is the our countrymen, even celebrities, to whom I say celebrity in our country, they don't realize their national responsibility. Even the celebrity from the film industry and from the cricket, etc., sports, they advertise the things which is not good for the health for our children. They don't realize, they don't take responsibility that it's not a matter of only their you see their profit, their earning. It's a matter of the health of different our citizens on different part of the country. But the things are going how the things changed. Earlier, before allopathy, we were using Ayurveda, that was effective, and to whom we started laughing upon that practices. Dadi Nani ke jo nuskhe, which is known. You see, even today, we practice it. Sometimes for small problems, health issues, we use it and we get its benefit. But as soon as we go for allopathy, we have medicines, remedy in allopathy, and we get the same times some other diseases out of that medicine. That was not with the traditional medicines like Ayurveda. Government is recognizing it, government is emphasizing it, and government is making its hard effort. That's why government has Ayush Mantralaya, and recently you see this government has popularized yoga and other things. And one example I would like to quote here, that our businessmen, they started to business the yoga and natural medicine and other things. GTV, the owner of GTV, they have a very good resort, approx more than 200-300 crore rupees. They nearby, they have set up settled at nearby New York, and they are earning a lot of things. And the Indian businessman, they are marketing this Ayurveda and organic things and naturopathy on global level. They started to make it business. The same thing, thinking or changing in our country also. 20-25 years back, people you feel proud to have they even the cold drink like Pepsi and other things. It was a status symbol among the new generations. But now they shifted. Baba Ramdev and other Baba Sri Ravi Shankar and other social workers and social heroes. They are, made people aware, and now people are feeling good to have fruit juices and other things instead of this cold drink. So the people are changing.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, sir.
We would say thanks to Divya also. She's assistant professor in Satya Bhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. And I'm sure that if we have such kind of faculty members in the country who can spread the information, and today we got to know that if we are confident for our culture, tradition, ethics, definitely we can sell it as a tourism product. And if you can check, I'll give one example that in Bhutan, I've seen some travel agents who wear their ethnic dresses. And we people just follow the other culture. So we should also come with our own culture in the dress patterns, in the food patterns and all. So I'm sorry, we cannot take more questions since it is already 1:35. So I would say thanks to Professor Lapkus Misra sir for today's session. It was very wonderful, and as we all can see, the culture promote tourism and tourism promote culture. So till we are not very much confident what we have to sell as a tourism product for our culture, tradition, ethics, and other things in our country, we cannot promote tourism as a high level, right? So thank you once again. I would request to Dr. Himanshu Bhushan Rao sir for the last words, whatever you want to say.
So lastly, I can thanks to Professor Lapkus Misra sir for accepting our invitation for this AICTE Atal FDP, and we had delighted this session with very insightful thoughts and very informative session it was. And also, I thanks to all those active participants, those who are participating very actively, and it gives me immense pleasure to coordinate this program. So thank you all once again. Thank you, sir.